All right. Yeah, I just want to first off just voice my opinion since that does seem that it's been lost. Okay. And if you do it in any, if you voice your opinion in this democratic society, there's no real way around it that you're going to fall into what someone like me would look at a I would look at it as a dissension. And that is just a political act against the status, normality, quo, status, um, I guess, most reasoned deducted choice in society. Now, in a democracy, I would say that the most valuable choice is the minority's choice. So if the minority's choice is, and I mean the most minute minority in a political democracy. So if a democracy's choice is to, again, in that sense, not have kids, then I vote for let's not have kids. It really is what the right choice, what is being voiced, what has been vocalized and formed a majority within the vast majority. So it's the smallest you could say it's the smallest minority, the right to die, or atheism. Um, and that's how dissension works. Uh, do not dissent into the political parties. Do not dissent into our fair democracy. That is propaganda. And I'm just saying that's the way dissension works. That's the way the negative small quality has insurmountable power over the majority. You could say within a cell, or well, in this case, you could say within a cell, or you could say within a society. And again, that's how there has been control. If there is a Fed, if there's a Federal Reserve, there is control, no matter what. If that is an idea, like if that hasn't been patented and it's a clear power move, like it's a clear checkmate, like Tesla, then it hasn't been patented, then yeah, that's how the dissension is. And that's how religion controls. So, I mean, I would say that religion is a personal choice. Atheism is a personal choice. There's nothing wrong with someone who believes in religion just because they're in the majority, since that is how uh, the dynamics of religion have also played out. I mean, to talk thermodynamics in a political discussion, I should say that anything should have analogical value, like analog. Um, analog just mean something that is pretty irrefutable. So the fact that quantum mechanics is pretty irrefutably confusing and distorted and invaluable to physical experimentation means that it apparently is a good product placement for our brains, and it allows the emotional primate to be able to execute its psychology better. And then artificial intelligence technology within the society can work better to basically hold that balance of always having a minority. So even if the democracy is two people, and there's two choices: to procreate or to not, or to kill each other or to not, or to hunt and gather or to not. Um, that's just how power, you could say, works, especially mental, like in that sense, and then especially, or I guess in that sense, you have a physicalism, and not only that, but just because eternity or infinity may exist in a uh, in a universe without sentience doesn't mean that it still does not exist because it's the only thing that humans have ever had to study is nature. And if that's what is qualitative, then that is what rules. You could say that it's the only qualification. Um, Fables and made up fairy tale nonsense or reality atheism, uh, mental anguish. And that I would say that that's a personal choice. Um, we you know we'll stop killing people that don't want to believe in our God or don't want to participate in our normality and all that. And people who are closed-minded and sheeple and who are going to do whatever they want to do in our society, well, yeah, we'll still control them with religion. Um, it's it's just sensible. Um, Religion is the cell, and atheism is the makeup of the cell, the core of the cell, and probably a little bit more. But it's not on the surface, so it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what's on the surface. And what's on the surface is that, yes, in America, Americans they have the choice of religion, and much more so, you could say, than any other country. And that freedom of religion allows people to back out of uh, real science. Um, so science is a dissension on the core of our democracy, which is religion, you could say. And yeah, people either choose to stay in that, but the democracy has been written so as such to have a better source of control. Um, you could say that the scales are balancing between religion and science, and so people descend into atheism. And now we have that choice. Back in the day, you wouldn't have that choice; you would be killed. And then they may have started groups, um, and those groups were able to recreate laws a little bit. But there was also, I mean, it was also very small and probably much more uh, civilized, um, in the sense that there wasn't any room for dissension, and there was just craziness, and everything's dying, everybody's dying, and everything's just insane. So just like the little bit of hope that people would want to reach for in religion, like they would do it no matter what. And it seemed like a real threat that any science would be introduced, because if there was any more balance, or like if there was any more balance, then how bad could it actually get? Um, Maybe it's gotten worse as our uh, main senses have kind of shut down. Our instincts have shut down, and we've kind of heightened our political awareness. this idea of this idea of a not just a one but a two, a division, a derision. Um, that's what our brains maybe have been able to do, and we've been able to capitalize and say, well, I'm going to have a scale in my mind. And And the fact that like we're able to even have that discussion means that there will be, like, you could say that there's going to be evolution in our intelligence, or what our intelligence deems as a necessary application. Even though some of those applications might be fucking completely insane, um, you'd say, in that sense, that yeah, quantum mechanics then is a religion if they are making insane creationist claims. Um, as such, it's obvious that evolution is not a creationist claim because there is no valuable explanation to be able to explore the idea that um, there was ever a transfer of energy between the environment and the DNA cell. So there is no beginning in that sense. In the same sense, the Big Bang is obviously not a beginning, but at this, the Big Bang is really not a beginning, but the fact that it is representative of a model that has no beginning makes no sense. And has it only been useful throughout the years that society has grown um, religiously, um, but also gained infinitesimally um, in their sciences. And these sciences obviously disturb the the civilization, the mating and things like that, and they belly in, and want to um, people want to stop it. You know, people still want to go on a witch hunt. So I just look at it like that because America does have, they do have a, a freedom of religion. I would say that it's freedom of religion, and you have to learn the practice of science and the practice of how science is actually distributed into the society before, uh, I guess, fully disowning religion. Just coming to the conclusion that religion is a indefinitely valuable way to operate, um, since its uh, utility exists in heaven, and you have to believe in heaven. And if you understand, well, that's the craziest trick I've ever come across, then you'll maybe understand why that you should dissent um, into the minority and say, yeah, I'm not going to follow that, no matter what. And eventually, uh, the science gives you enough backing to say, well, yeah, I'm just going to follow the science and not follow this. And I don't know if that's sort of like a universal earthling thing, and everybody just utilizes what they utilize to their advantage and to their self interest and to their own survival. Um, but at least we should at least recognize if there are people that are protecting the religious covenant, then there should obviously be people that are fighting it in a mental war. Um, since religion is anti-human, um, religion is anti-human. It just is. It hates humans. I mean, that doesn't really need explanation right now. So anyway, yeah, I think that's where I'm at with this. So I'm gonna try to get somebody to spare. All right. All right. So you see what's happening here. All right. Yeah. So basically, all right, we got a bottle with air pressure causing leakage. Now, as superfluous as I mean, this is really I'd say as superfluous as you know uh, throwing bowling balls at a wall of clay. But I'm just saying, for the understanding of what experiments should entail, and that they should add some engineering to life. I mean, they should add engineering to a problem in life. Um, whatever that is. If it's to die faster or to kill a fetus, then that's what the stem should be there for. For if it's for the greater good, if it's for less harm, and so there's obvious mixture that's going to have to take place. Now, I would say to avoid that is being critical of the religion, is being critical of anti-humanism. Um, so in a way, you're just martyring yourself for anti-humanism to be able to say, okay, yeah, this is anti-humanist. This isn't very commendable. Um, I mean, what I'm arguing against is just anti-human. It's not. It has no. Uh, it just has no value, and it's a highly capable machine. It's a highly capable substance religion that will, progress reproduction. Uh, so it seems that it's a very easy, complex um, jail trick, and there is no get out of jail free card. So it doesn't seem like there's any hope to martyr yourself against an anti-human community, except, I mean, unless it's to prove a point. Now, if they're going to create an antimatter particle, something that obviously in this experiment here would hold water, into the plastic bottle when you have the cap on, because obviously there is a biometric pressure or physical force that is keeping the water inside when there is pressure added. So when you release the pressure, gravity is well, already the water is supposed to fall out of gravity, but you are essentially defying laws of physics when you put the cap on to add pressure. So I'm just saying, uh, there's no, I guess, physical interpretation that fits why that phenomenon would happen. So you have to come up with one and say, well, yeah, okay, there's like a highly capable force here. So because obviously, anti-humanists or religionists, they're really not going to use these outside forces like ether or spirits to say really anything. They just propose them as congregates of religion anyway, to again propel reproduction in that sense, because they like anti-humanism. So that's what's kind of surfacing for me. And then so if you say that there is or at least if you give value to that, there may be a negative particle value, like a negative substance. You say, okay, well, no, I like they think they came from Adam. They think they came from Adam's rib. They think, there was an Eve. Um, well, that's odd. How about I just make a science about atoms and photons or sunlight to see if I can pull these anti-humanists out of their, dark cave. So, because obviously science is not anti-human, um, except the relationship that we have with trying to understand science as being anything pseudo. Well, anything that is in descent to God theory or a God belief, really, anything anti-human is trying to encapsulate something that is better for humanity. Whether it's quantum mechanics that allows you to have an indifference with God and or anti-human community and be able to elaborate your psychology or navigate your psychology better, then so be it. But that's all science is really here to do. It really is just a proposition against anti-humanism anyway. So, uh, yeah, I mean, there's obviously like a pressure, and you have to say that there's a phenomenon there. Again, in this experiment, the nice little kitty den, uh, like the nice little molestation, or like it's like the molestation predator free zone, or the predator free zone where you're allowed to molest. I'm just saying, you drop the balloons, and nitrous oxide. I'm sorry. Yeah, it just one water balloon is bigger than the other balloon, and you're supposed to expect that the bigger water balloon may fall faster. Now, really, that if you walked up to this experiment, you said, yeah, the water balloon on the right is bigger. It's going to drop. It's going to fall faster. If you didn't know what gravity was, if you didn't know anything about sort of like the dynamic of gravity, um, but yeah, obviously this experiment shows that they both fall at the same speed. So this polarization, which we now know, um, and I'd say Newton didn't really fall into, um, that substance, this has to be a substance, um, polarizes objects so quickly that it's able to, if there's already a vacuum, like you could say, is within Earth's atmosphere, and within Earth's atmosphere, there's sort of like an anti-vacuum where air is allowed to exist and precipitate oxygen to allow us to breathe, or we would suffocate. You could say in something like that, then yeah, they're going to fall at the same speed. So, speaking of falling, um, you know, here you have a magnet um, that's going to fall at a slower rate than a metal. I gotta. So yeah, it's just a magnet experiment. It's nothing to be afraid of. Like religious people, in my mind, I am terrified of religious people because they don't understand that we live in a like just civilization isn't good enough. It's just not. Yeah, I'd rather live uncivilized and be outcasted to science than live with the anti-humanists. And yeah, it's horrible. Religion in a anti-human sense, as is a anti-humanist movement, you could say that it is a subtle foe. You could give it the qualities of a religious devil and treat it as such. That it is an impenetrable, an impenetrable. It can't be penetrated. an impenetrable force. Okay, so that impenetrable force is suscitated by anti-humanism, and obviously that is not a qualitative rational idea because it is outside of the senses, you could say. Therefore, you need extra sensory perception to be able to fight it mentally. And yeah, I mean, it's just pretty fucking clear, crystal clear. So anyway, you have this magnet thing, and yeah, magnetism is an impenetrable force. Um, you can't penetrate it. So I mean, these are like impenetrable gravity experiments. Okay, but it takes thought to be able to understand the reaction, um, and to actually use laws such as know the enemy and stuff. So yeah, obviously the magnetism is going to slow down. Like if I had a magnet and I knew it was a magnet and I put it through a metallic surface against a steel ball, obviously I know that the magnet is going to fall slower because the magnetism is going to penetrate the environment and it's going to stop the force. I can know that with ESP, but yeah, that's the trick. So that's the game, I would say. Anyway, a fucking pathetic millennial that doesn't go to war and all that shit. So yeah, nothing really to articulate here today. I mean, I still want to do the articulations